In today's video for the First Descendant, we're going to be going over the Ice Queen herself, and that's going to be Viessa. I've put a build together that I think works absolutely amazing in pretty much all areas of the game, whether it be taking on bosses, playing in groups, going out and doing some of the tougher missions. This build works absolutely fantastic, as it gives you a lot of damage, but also doesn't compromise any of your survivability. I've tried to make it so that it's focused a little bit more on gameplay with your first and third skill more than your fourth with your actual blizzard, because for me I don't think Viessa is an actual nuker when it comes to her skill powers. She can dish out a lot of damage, however if you're after a true nuker you should probably be looking more towards Lepic. But with this build you're going to be able to have a lot of fun, you're going to stay alive, you're going to be able to absolutely tear through all of the content in the game, and it works perfect solo or in a group because you're able to tackle multiple enemies at a time and make it look very easy whilst you do. I've also tried to put in what I believe are some of the best weapons currently in the game so that you know what to aim for and you're able to clear through things very fast and efficiently, and I must admit, all in all, Viessa is definitely one of my top picks and favourite characters to play in the game because of just how fluid she is in combat and how nicely her kit all comes together. Now if I quickly go over to her skills, as you're going to see, the main thing that I've done, I haven't actually gone too far into the old damage side. We will be enhancing it somewhat with a little bit of crit chance and crit damage within the build, but ultimately I haven't focused fully on that because if you go completely into that you make her very squishy and I found her build to lack in other areas. We're going to be focusing mainly on the range whilst providing enough damage to take out the enemies and such in the missions. The main thing we're going to be focusing, like I said earlier, is going to be our number one and our third skill in order to get the most out of them and be able to use them very often. Overall though, this is an amazing build, really works well in all the content, you don't really lack out on anything because of these stats. Also, if you need to, remember, always go into your blizzard, it's got a massive AoE to it and can really help you to clear through some of the content because it still hits like an absolute truck. Now over to our weapons, and I've put three in place that I love using. The first one, Enduring Legacy. This one is absolutely amazing for just ripping anything to pieces, especially those single targets, and trying to make sure you have critical rate, critical damage, and of course firearm attack on this in order to get the most from it. With the mods on it, I found that a nice overall build for it is definitely heading towards the crit damage side, so try to spec into roughly what I've done here and it will help you absolutely massacre all of the enemies when you're tackling them. One thing I would change though, which I'm going to mix up a little bit later on, if you see this one on the very far left hand side, which is going to be our weak point site, change that one out. It didn't work quite as well as I was hoping because it didn't give as much damage, as it's only a 1x multiplier to start off with. So instead I would say switch it out and give yourself some quality of life with some mods that provide either more ammo for the actual weapon or anything that helps it to reload faster. Over to Thunder Cage, and this one is going to be your absolute mobbing. I want to take everything out, fast, furious, easy, and as you can see I've not spec'd into this at all. I am absolutely awful, it's because I went for other weapons, but again just going to the complete crit damage side of things, and the AoE effect as you start enhancing it special will really help you to tear through multiple enemies very fast. Lastly, for Greg's Reverse Fate, this one is an absolutely insane big hitter. Again, nice and easy, try to put in as much crit damage as you possibly can in this weapon and you're going to tear through single, multiple, whatever targets are in your way, and it's also a really nice nuker for those boss fights. Just be a little bit wary though, because it does do that bombardment skill and it does it very effectively. If you're not using it in the right phases for the bosses, for example when they're downed or when people are on their shoulders, you will enrage them a little bit faster, so make sure you pick and choose when you're using this. Over to the Reactor, and you're going to want to make sure you've got a frozen one. For me, I didn't have much joy with this. I was looking for quite some time, but I never managed to find it for a weapon I wanted. Now I've got hold of it and it's for Greg's Reverse Fate, so that's absolutely amazing. Make sure you're using that whenever you want to pop your skills out in order to increase their damage. Just make sure it's for one of the weapons you've got hold of, whichever one you use most, and you're going to be absolutely golden. For the skill power boost, you're going to want to make sure on chill skill power boost ratio and fusion skill power, because we're going to be aiming for the skills doing a little bit more damage on that kind of first lot of skills rather than our actual blizzard. If you wanted to change it to tech however and get more out of your blizzard, then you can very well do so. Down the bottom here, you're going to want to make sure you've got chill skill power boost ratio, and one that I've missed off, you'd definitely want, if it was me, I would try and put on cooldown, or crit damage also works for your skills really nicely. Now over to the 4-piece set, you're going to want to make sure it's the Slayer set, that's going to give you the very best with this kit. Remember, overall this set's going to give you a nice bit of capacity to your rounds, and it's also going to provide you a nice amount of extra damage when using your skills as well. The last bit, don't worry, that doesn't really affect this character, but this is still the best set I've found so far. And for your first one, which is going to be your auxiliary, make sure you've got MP recovery out of combat and maximum HP. For the Slayer sensor, you're going to want to make sure you've got on it maximum MP, and for the secondary, if you can, try to get on it, MP recovery in combat. This is just going to help you to kind of stay in the fight a lot more, and it's one of the best stats you can have on your actual kit. Over to the memory, for this one you're definitely going to want to enhance its defense, so make sure you get that on it. And then for the other one, if you can, I've managed to get shield recovery in combat, but if you can, MP recovery modifier will almost definitely work out for the best. Lastly, for your processor, honestly, whatever you want to put in this slot, go for it. It doesn't really make a massive difference. And like I said, now you're going to hit a bit harder because you got this set, but it does actually cost a little bit extra on your MP because you're getting charged 15% extra when you're using your skills. Now, just to make everyone's life a little bit easier, what I'm going to do is show you all of the catalyst slots and where I've placed them on Viessa as a Descendant, and then afterwards I'm going to go over the two setups I'm currently using with her in order to get the most out of her and have a great amount of success both solo and great in the team. Over to our first setup, and this is the one I use in general. It's going to help you to go through your kind of missions and have a lot of fun using your skills. And you're going to start off with Cold Snap Watch. This is going to be great as you can change it in, change it out, pick whichever one you want here. Viessa hasn't really got a designated red mod that's much superior to the rest. I like this one however because it gives you a nice little zone in front of yourself that damages the enemies within. Then if we jump over to Battle of Stamina, this is going to provide you with a nice bit of HP as well as giving you a tiny bit of skill duration, but it does give you another tick to your Blizzard, which makes it absolutely ideal. Over from here, Focus on Chill is going to help you to get a little bit of skill cooldown, but also enhance your actual skills again. And then another one you're going to want to focus on is going to be your skill effect range. We're relying heavily on range with this one as it's going to help us to absolutely nuke a lot of enemies and have a lot of fun with it. Nimble Fingers is just going to be absolutely vital in most cases when you want your skill cooldown, and then of course skill concentration, because we do want to be able to hit a bit harder with our skills, and skill critical hit damage is always very effective. Increased defense is going to help us just to give a little bit more survivability to our build, and of course increased HP, which is a must on I would say pretty much every build whenever you don't want to fall over fast. Over from here, Emergency Measures, this is going to give you a little bit more skill critical hit rate as well as skill critical hit damage. Another one that I really enjoy using is going to be HP Collector. This is just going to enhance your survivability massively as it's going to allow you to get HP back whenever you're taking out those enemies, and the higher up you've enhanced this, the more you'll be able to use it. Maximise range, like I said, we're going to be really going into that as it's going to affect all of our skills, and now we have a massive skill range and it's a lot of fun to see within those missions, taking everything out. And finally, mid-air manoeuvring, just so we can get around and make things a lot easier. Over to our slightly tankier build. This one I tend to use on the bosses and such because the skills don't really come into effect much, especially when you're playing group play, and one of the things you'll be swapping in will be shot focus, which is going to allow us to get a little bit of extra damage with our firearm attack. Another one, time distribution. Now your skill cooldown is going to be less, as well as giving you a nice bit of maximum HP. And then just down from here, HP amplification, one that only now I'm starting to realise how powerful it is going to give us a massive boost to our actual HP. And again, just over to the right, more defense, more skill power, and that's going to be with our spear and shield. Lastly, this one we have got as HP collector, but for both of the builds, if you want to swap it in, swap it out, change things around, few nice ones you might want to look at could be Dangerous Ambush, which is absolutely amazing for some of those boss encounters or tackling some enemies that have some high health, or of course there's Improved Drive Shaft. Even though this one can be a little bit hit and miss, it can at times really help you to get a bit of firearm attack about yourself, especially if you like to roll a lot. Or there's Walker Tightrope if you're trying to enhance your damage a little bit more with your weapons once more. But yeah, overall I found this to be a really nice build. It helps you with survivability, it's really cool to run. And although it's not quite as damaging with our Blizzard like I've seen some builds, I found the overall survivability and just effectiveness of the build in total worked perfect as an all-around build for Viessa and was a lot of fun to play. But yeah, there'll be a lot more content away from me. Hopefully you've enjoyed the build. As always, for all things gaming, take care. I'll see you on the next day.